Hi, friends. Welcome to a lecture series on public policies. Today, let us discuss about national policy for empowerment of women. The Ministry of Women and Child Development has prepared a national policy for women in 2016 for articulating a vision for the empowerment of women. The Constitution of India conveys a powerful mandate for equality and rights of women in its preamble, fundamental rights and duties, and also provides for specific provisions for affirmative actions. The empowerment of women is a socio political ideal envisioned in relation to the wider framework of women's rights. It is a process that leads women to realize their full potential, their rights to have access to opportunities, resources, and choices with the freedom of decision making both within and outside the home. Empowerment would be achieved only when advancement in the conditions of women is accompanied by their ability to influence the direction of social change gained through equal opportunities in economic, social, and political spheres of life. So, this particular point is very, very important. Let me repeat this point. The main objective of this policy is that it is a process that leads women to realize their full potential and their rights to have access to opportunities, resources, and choices with the freedom of decision making both within and outside the home. So that means the main objective of this policy is to transform women as an empowered women. Women must exercise their rights and they have to make use of the opportunities that are available in the broader society, and they have to make use of their potential to the maximum extent possible for their own benefit, and ultimately women must be socially, economically, and politically empowered. So therefore here the uh, crux of the policy is that empowerment would be achieved only when advancement in the conditions of women is accompanied by their ability to influence the direction of social change gained through equal opportunities in economic, social, and political spheres of life. Now, let us look at the vision of the policy. The vision of this national policy for women is to build a society in which women attain full potential and are able to participate as equal partners in all spheres of life and influence the process of social change. So, this is the most important point with regard to the national policy for women. Again, I am repeating this point. The vision of this policy is to build a society in which women attain full potential and are able to participate as equal partners in all spheres of life and influence the process of social change. So, the goal of this policy is to bring about the advancement, development, and empowerment of women. This again very important point. The goal of this policy is to bring about the advancement, development, and empowerment of women. Now, let us discuss about the objectives of this policy. What are the important objectives of this policy? One is creating an environment through positive economic and social policies for full development of women to enable them to realize their full potential. This is first objective. Second, the enjoyment of all human rights and fundamental freedom by women on equal basis with men in all spheres: political, economic, social, cultural, and civil. So, this is another important objective. Then, third, equal access to participation and decision making of women in social, political, and economic life of the nation. So, this is the third objective. Then, fourth, equal access to women to health care, quality of education at all levels, career and vocational guidance, employment, equal remuneration, occupational health and safety, social security, and public office. This is another important objective of the policy. Then, fifth one, strengthening level system aimed at elimination of all forms of discrimination against women. Then, sixth, elimination of discrimination and all forms of violence against women and the girl child. Seventh objective is building and strengthening partnerships with civil society, particularly women's organizations. So, these are the seven important objectives of the national policy for women. Now, let us look at what are the priority areas. The policy addresses the diverse needs of women through identified priority areas, which include, so the priority areas related to women include: number one, health, including food security and nutrition. That means state has to initiate all measures to provide the healthcare services, quality healthcare services, and food security and nutrition for all women in Indian society. Then, education. Every woman, including every girl child, must have access to quality educational facilities. Third, economy includes poverty, raising visibility, agriculture, industry, labor, and employment, including skill development and entrepreneurship, service sector, science and technology. So, in all these areas, women must have equal accessibility on par with men. And women participation in economic activities must be encouraged. And in order to avail the better employment opportunities in the job market, skill development programs must be organized for the economic empowerment of women, and women must be encouraged to emerge as entrepreneurs, and women must be given a proper place in service sector as well as in the field of science and technology. That's what national policy for empowerment of women has talked about. And another important one, governance and decision making. Women must play a positive role, an effective role in governance and decision making. Then another area is violence against women. State has to take all uh, legal and legislative measures to eliminate the violence and crime against women. Nowadays, according to National Crime Records Bureau report, violence against women has increased. Criminal violence, domestic violence, and social violence against women has increased very much. So, keeping this in view, the policy has categorically stated that state must take all initiatives to provide protection for women, and the violence against women must be eliminated completely through the legal and legislative measures. Then another point is enabling environment, including housing and shelter, drinking water and sanitation, media, sports, social security, and infrastructure. So that means all women must have access, or uh, they should have the decent facility with regard to housing and protective drinking water and sanitation. And media and women must uh, have a positive role in the field of media, sports, social security, and infrastructure. So, the positive environment must be created where women can have the access to uh, a proper social, economic, and a political environment where women can uh, enjoy all her rights, and women shall not be projected in indecent manner in the media. So that's why the media has to play a proactive role while projecting uh, the women in different fields. And women must have access to sports and the different types of infrastructure uh, which are essential for the socio-economic advancement of women. So all these are the priority areas where the state has to initiate several measures for the social, economic, and political empowerment of women. Then implementation of policy, how the policy has to be implemented. In translating the policy framework, specific, achievable, and effective strategies for implementation will be required to be made at the national, state, and local government level. In public sector undertakings, corporates, businesses, trade unions, NGOs, and community based organizations. So that means there is a need of a proper coordination between the national government, state government, and local governments, and all other private sector organizations to implement this policy effectively, to translate the objectives and goals of this policy uh, into the achievement of the set goals of this policy, so that uh, women are socially and economically empowered. To ensure the rights of women and to promote gender equality, interdisciplinary and multi-sectoral gender institutional architecture will be strengthened and streamlined at the national, state, and local levels. So the policy said that that state must ensure the rights of women, and to promote gender equality, there is a need of interdisciplinary and multi-sectoral gender institutional architecture. So, uh, 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 such kind of initiative will be made by the state, both at national level and state and local level. At the national level, the Ministry of Women and Child Development will act as a nodal agency for working towards the realization of constitutional and international commitments to gender equality and social justice. An interministerial action plan will be formulated with action points with respect to the policy prescriptions in the policy document, where definitive targets, milestone activities, timelines, the timelines are related to achievement of short term, goals and medium term goals and long term goals, and outcome indicators will be given along with the ministries, departments responsible for implementing the actions. So here the meaning of this uh, argument is that there is a need of, that means the government of India will formulate an interministerial action plan. So as part of this interministerial action plan, the uh, specific targets will be identified, or the goals and targets are set, and in order to achieve those goals or targets, the timeline is fixed. And once the policy and related welfare programs are implemented effectively, then how to measure the outcome, for which there is a need of some indicators. For example, with regard to education, so there is a need of certain indicators like gross enrollment ratio at school level and at higher education level, then participation of women in various types of employment, or emergence of women as the entrepreneurs. Then with regard to the health, the nutritional status among women, maternal mortality rate, infant mortality rate. So all such kind of indicators help us to understand the outcome of the implementation of this policy. So an interministerial committee will be set up to periodically monitor the achievements and progress made under the action plan. So here uh, we need to understand that the interministerial committee will not only set the goals, but it periodically monitor the implementation of the policy and the achievements and progress made under this action plan. All such kind of activities are done by an interministerial committee, which is essential for the success of this policy. Then what would be the social implications of the policy? So this policy has been implemented effectively by the government of India, state governments, local governments, and also by the public sector, uh, public sector and private sector organizations. So if this policy is implemented effectively, what would be its implications, social implications, that we need to analyze. So the implementation of the national policy for the empowerment of women would result into addressing the core issues of women, such as such as human rights, equal access to educational and employment opportunities, healthcare needs, gender violence, social security participation in decision making process, and attainment of political positions in power structure. This policy would eliminate the gender inequalities and gender discrimination in the course of time. So this is again very important. So if this policy is implemented effectively, it would bring about the change in the socio-economic and political status of women in modern Indian society. So there are many issues related to women, and all such core issues, already I said, the core issues of women, such as human rights. That means if the policy is implemented effectively, the policy may create a kind of social environment where women can exercise their basic human rights. And once the policy is implemented effectively, all women will have an access, equal access to educational and employment opportunities. So this would be the social implication. And All women will have the access to the quality healthcare facilities, and gender violence would reduce, and women will have more social security. Then participation in decision making process would be increased. Women will get an opportunity to take part in decision making in all fields. And since women are able to empower, so once they are socially and economically, educationally empowered, that will help them to attain certain important political positions in power structure. So if all these goals are attained, women can play a more effective role and more, what we can say, proactive role in Indian society in every field. So the effective implementation of this policy would create an environment in the country where women can play a vital role on par with men in the fields of education, economy, politics, business, bureaucracy, industrial sector, service sector, health sector, etc. The implementation of this policy will provide the equal rights and opportunities for women, and they will be encouraged to take part actively in all the spheres of social life. So, on the whole, the national policy for women will provide the protection, safety, and security and opportunities for participation, economic development, and capacity building. So, this is a, a very important outcome of the implementation of this policy. The national policy for women will provide, number one, in the first stage, it will provide protection, safety, and security for women. This is one important aspect. And it also provide the opportunities for participation, economic development, and capacity build. So according to the recent reports related to the labor force participate, the periodic survey on labor force participation states that women's participation in economic activities has increased very much. That shows that today women are able to participate in all sorts of economic activities, and that is resulting into the economic empowerment of women. And many reports on the education also states that the uh, gross enrollment ratio of the girls at school level and also at higher education level has increased very much. Today, large number of girls are pursuing variety of courses. Most importantly, they are pursuing many professional courses. Through that, they are able to get a wide variety of employment opportunities in the global job market. So, based on this analysis, the ultimate outcome of this policy would be advancement, development, and empowerment of women, and will eliminate all forms of discrimination against. So this kind of conclusion we can draw. That means, uh, with the successful implementation of the national policy for empowerment of women 2016 will bring about a radical changes in the status of women. So today, even we can observe, and according to uh, the various reports published by the Ministry of Women and Child Development and the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, and the reports of Niti Aayog, all these reports states that the uh, women, a large number of women are utilizing the educational and employment opportunities in modern society. And because of uh, having access to quality education, and since the large number of women are pursuing uh, the wide variety of courses, and they are able to enter into the global job market, and that is ultimately leading to the advancement, development, and empowerment of women. So these are certain important points related to the national policy for empowerment of women. Thank you.